So recently, there was a couple of different things going on. One is I bought a broken PC, a broken Optiplex off of eBay for $42. I think it was $42 including shipping, tax, whatever. 42. No, shipping was free, so $42 for the broken PC because I thought I knew how to fix it. I also got some free accessories because I asked for them. A local IT department at a business, yeah, they were just. One day I went in there asking about a Dell keyboard, if they had any of the old style Dell keyboards, and I walked out with not one, not two, but 12 of those, two monitors, and some other assorted stuff. So I decided that what if you're resourceful enough and if you kind of pick around at things and look around, can you build a decent gaming computer for under 200 bucks? Spoiler alert, you can. Okay, so what it was is I bought this Optiplex. It's a 5040 MT Optiplex. It's a mid tower. I wasn't sure if it was going to be a full tower or mid tower. This actual, it's more. It says mid tower, but it's smaller, so it's going to take a low profile graphics card. The problem with the low profile graphics card is because a lot of those, especially with a lower power slimline computer like this, you're going to have a lower wattage power supply. You're already going to have the height disadvantage of trying to fit it into there. So you're going to have to probably use something with almost with no external power, or that doesn't use a lot of external power, where you can use like a SATA adapter or something like that. There's only a couple of these GPUs that fit that bill, and they're not great. One being the GT 1030 from NVIDIA. This comes in two different flavors, and it's not. You go from bad to worse, and we'll circle back to this one in a minute because this is an option to bring your price down. One of them is a 1050 if you can get a hold of it, but some of those can still, if you get a low profile version of a 1050 or 1050 Ti, some of those can still, even used, go for around 250 bucks, $200 to $250, and you think that's crazy. There's no way, but yeah, some of them are still going pretty expensive because it's low profile and it doesn't take external power. And with everybody offloading all these small PCs, those are still in demand. So they still are fetching a price, even though it's a decent GPU. What I decided on is the RX 6400. Yeah, there's some disadvantages with that because this processor is only an i5 6500, which means that we're only going to have PCIe version 3.0. That video card operates on 4 PCI bus rails instead of all 16. You know, when you go to put it in your motherboard, for those of you that might not know, when you go to put it in your motherboard, the longer slot has 16 bus lines or bus lanes. This only uses 4 of those. It's meant to operate on a much faster bus speed. So if you're using a slower bus speed, about half as fast, and you're using 1/4 of the number of bus lanes, it does hamper things quite a bit. However, as we're going to take a look here, it wasn't too bad. And I'm not going to go through and spend a lot of time on each one of these benchmarks because that would end up making this video a whole lot longer than it should be. But basically what I'm just letting you know is that if you set your expectations on a card like this that you can get for probably now you can spend a lot of money on this card too, but I've seen it for around $130 for that price range if you're careful and if you look around and if you don't get swindled or don't just buy the first thing you see. You can get this for as low as about $128, $130. And I did find that every single time I went looking. I just showing one example. So with that, with the $42 for the broken PC, I went ahead and bought another stick of DDR3L, which is the low voltage, the 1.35 instead of 1.5. Another stick of that cost me $12. A 256 gig SSD. You don't need a whole lot for a machine like that. You're not going to be doing a whole lot extra. You might be using an external, like in my case, I'm using an external SSD for a lot of things. $20 for that. So with the video card, the case, all that stuff, and then all of the monitor, the keyboard, the mouse, all that stuff that I got for free, we're talking about coming in at just a shade over $200 for this. So on a $200 budget, yes, you can do it. Now, it does play decent games, and I would say probably 1080 medium. If you stuck with something like 1080p medium, you're getting a playable experience. You're getting close to 60 frames per second in most games like Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Borderlands 3, and all that stuff. Forza Horizon 5 did pretty well. Even games like Cyberpunk, I think I was getting between like 40 and 45 or something like that. So it wasn't horrible. Adjust the settings a little bit, maybe adjust if it's got FSR or something, maybe adjust that a little, and you might be in business, and it's very playable. Now remember, some of the older consoles were locked at 30 frames per second, so if it's something that you're really worried about there, you can do that. I did try CS2. CS2, it doesn't really have a benchmark tool anymore, so I had to do it the old-fashioned way, but I was getting about 83 frames per second, which again, is not horrible. And we're going to compare that in a second to a different graphics card. I mentioned the GT 1030. You can go cheaper with the GT 1030. You can pay anywhere from, I've seen it as low as like $55 up to like $110. Why anybody would pay $110 for a GT 1030 is beyond me, unless they just can't find anything else and it's an emergency of some type. I invite you never to spend that much money on a card like that, because it is horrible. It is, we'll just say it's less than horrible. There is a bigger problem with that GT 1030 as well. It comes in two different flavors. Now you're thinking, oh, it comes in regular and low profile. No. It comes in DDR5 and DDR4. The older memory is about half as fast as the newer memory, the DDR5 version of it. Both of them only come with 2 gig of that memory. And it's not good. Basically, you're talking about, and I'll show some numbers up here for 1080p low, 900p low, and 720p low, because that's about all it's good for. And I would probably, now 720p is still high def. If you've got a monitor that looks pretty good on, and you're in a pinch, or if you can find one of these free, it might be something you can do. It will lower your costs a little bit, and it's going to be less than a $200 budget, but still, I think they're asking too much for this card still, even though the performance is way less than, acceptable. It is something that'll get you by if all you're looking for is something to browse the web or something, though. What I might go ahead and try, because I did find online when I was looking at these other cards, something that had not occurred to me, but Intel has an Arc A310 that comes in low profile for about $94. So that would bring your budget down to around the $175 range, which is very, very reasonable. It's well under $200. And that performance, when I was looking and trying to find out, it looks like it's performance somewhere between an RX 560 and a GTX 1050, which is not horrible. It's not great, but it's not horrible. It's not going to be quite as good as the RX 6400. But, I mean, for $175, what do you expect? So that, if you're really on a budget and you're really in a pinch, I'm really seriously thinking about getting this card just to test it, especially against the 1030 and the 6400. So let me let me know in the comments if you're interested in seeing that. But there are ways to make something work, and the biggest key part of this, making this budget build so ultra budget, is finding something, keeping your eyes peeled and finding something that's like inexpensive or near free, and the free accessories make the whole thing. Because even if you're trying to build a PC for $200, you're still going to have to get a keyboard, or a monitor, a mouse, maybe headphones, or whatever. This monitor has speakers in it. They're not great, but you can hear it. The monitor itself was free. It has a webcam on it. So that's another thing if you're interested. I found the mouse laying around the house. The keyboard, I already mentioned, that was absolutely free. That was part of what started this whole thing. And then if you really want to, because you can run Windows without a license if you're trying to afford it, but it's only going to cost you, maybe $18 or something like that if you go to one of these discount key sites. Maybe forego the 8 gig of extra memory for now. But this system did come with 8 gig of memory in it. I just added another 8 gig stick. So getting by for a $200 budget is possible. Is it going to be something that lights your hair on fire and makes your breakfast in the morning? Absolutely not. But it is something you can do, and if you're on an ultra budget, there is hope. My next step for this is to go ahead and pit this $200 budget against the $300 Xeon that we made before. I don't know if that's going to be one of the next videos or there's something coming in between with that Xeon that I've got coming that should be here tomorrow. And it's sort of going to be a themed build, but I think I might test it before I do that just to see how these two perform against each other. I'm thinking the Xeon's going to come out on top, but is it 150% of the performance of this $200 budget? Because we know we're getting a lot more. We know we're going to get a lot more spending $100 more, but it is half your budget again on top. Is that performance going to be worth it? We'll just have to find out, won't we? So anyway, if you got anything out of this video, go ahead and throw a like on it. Appreciate it. If you're not already subscribed, please do. I'm getting really super close to 900 subscribers. I would love to hit 1,000 by the end of the year. So if you guys could help me out with that, that would be amazing. Yeah, don't forget to visit me on the other socials. There's going to be a video coming up about that. I keep putting it off because other things keep getting in the way that are more interesting. So quite frankly, I like doing videos like this where, I mean, a $200 budget build. That's, I didn't think a couple weeks ago I'd be doing this. I just happened to find that PC online. So, but if you don't do anything else, if you don't visit me on the other socials or like or subscribe or whatever, and I hope you do, just do me this one favor, and that's be good to each other. Smile, wave, hold the door open, say something nice to somebody. It costs you absolutely nothing to be kind, but especially at a time of year like this, we know the kindness we can get, don't we? So, oh yeah, and I've still got stuff like laptops and all that stuff, you know, for my brother-in-law. A bunch of other stuff going on. Yeah, so until I get myself into something I got no business getting into, I'll see you later.